200 miles from Downing Street. The battle for number 10 now playing out in Grimsby. The two men vying for the keys to that door know they need to win voters like these. This place voted Tory last time, but now Labour wants it back. Keir Starmer first up to be interviewed by Sky's political editor Beth Rigby. He wants to convince this audience and the country he can be trusted. But it's a long journey since his last election campaign.
You said, I do think Jeremy Corbyn would make a great Prime Minister. Jeremy Corbyn, did you mean that?
I was certain that we would lose the 2019 election.
Did you not mean it when you said it?
I was certain that we would lose.
Now will you actually say, yes, I thought that, or I didn't think that at the time? Just be honest.
I honestly didn't think that we had a chance of winning that election.
So you said it anyway.
Tax, a constant issue in this campaign. Do Labour's plans add up?
But the Tories say you will go further. They're right, aren't they? You will.
Well, the first thing I'd say is the Tories are in no position to lecture anyone about tax rises. We got the highest tax burden.
So, no tax rises in the next Parliament?
No tax rises needed in the plans in our manifesto.
In the plans?
No tax rises for working people. That's income tax, national insurance,
so you're
and VAT.
not ruling out. I just decode that for you guys, because when a politician says no plans, it does mean I might.
Well, Beth,
I've done this a bit. It does.
No plans for a wealth tax, but he is a top earner himself.
Would you personally be happy to pay more tax?
Yes, of course.
A hint of domestic life and personal troubles.
Was Vic, your wife, not keen for you to do this?
No, she wasn't at all. She
What
thought
does she think
it'd be
about the
far better to
prospect of
continue being a lawyer on a reasonable salary and not have all of the challenges that you get as a politician. But I was clear in my mind. I wanted to come into politics because I wanted to serve my country.
The audience asking questions too, and some not holding back.
Over the last year, I feel like you've formed into more of a politician than the person that I would have voted for to run the country. You seem more like a political robot. How are you going to convince others like me to vote for you?
Well, the most... look, all I can say... I went to run the Crown Prosecution Service. You referenced that. I was the Chief Prosecutor for 5 years. Apologies.
Cayman, did he convince you, yes or no?
I hope you don't answer the questions... How you answer the questions, and I hope you never answered them the way that you did when you were a solicitor, because you don't seem to answer the question.
OK. I'm gonna...
Some frustration at the lack of detail, but this man not giving much away. Rishi Sunak needs a big win in this room and beyond. But can he escape the chaotic record of his party?
In this Parliament, we've had 3 Prime Ministers, 5 Chancellors, 5 Home Secretaries, 6 Health Secretaries. How do we know that if you won the general election, you'd still be Prime Minister in a year's time?
Look, I can appreciate people's frustrations. Of course, we haven't got everything right. I don't think any government does, and I know it's been very difficult for many people. But what I can do is work as hard as I can to deliver the stability that I said I would, and I've had this job for 18 months.
The PM tested like rarely before on his promises. One, to get waiting lists down.
No, just cutting NHS waiting lists, that's pledge 4. When you made the promise, the list was at 7.21 million. It's now at 7.54 million cases. It's gone up.
Yes, it has. Yes, I'm very good. We've not made as much progress on cutting waiting lists as I would have liked.
The point...
Rishi Sunak facing boos, losing some in the crowd and, at times, looking crestfallen. Immigration, the next challenge for him to overcome.
Why did you call an election before voters could actually see it was happening? Why?
Because an election is an important moment for our country, and my priority when I got this job was to restore economic stability. And we talked about bringing inflation down and getting the economy growing, and then being in a position, as we are now, to cut people's taxes.
Legal immigration, another example of failure. And again, the audience hostile.
What was the total net migration figure in the last 3 years running up to the 2016 referendum when we had freedom of movement? Do you know it?
I don't have it offhand.
It was 836,000 people. And I'm sure many people in this room would have voted for Brexit. 70% of people in Grimsby voted for Brexit. How do you think they feel about that when they hear that net migration into this country has more than doubled in the last 3 years from before we left the European Union?
Yeah, I'm sure it's too high. I've been very clear that it's too high. And I'm sure people feel frustrated and angry about it.
Trying to show he gets it. But after 14 years in power, the audience seemed low on patience.
You say that you're coming from an NHS background and you have this instilled value of caring for the NHS. How are we going to do that if you try and undermine it at every level?
With greatest respect, that's not what we're doing. We're investing record sums into it. We're training more doctors and nurses than we ever have, and there are more doctors and nurses in the NHS today than it's also had.
Because there's shortages of the staff already. We're short of radiographers, all the trades, all the different specialities throughout the hospitals. We're short of staff. So building another building that's going to move it from the hospital is not going to cure the problem. It's just going to make it worse.
Perfect. It was a bruising experience for the Prime Minister. His campaign needed a win, but it didn't come here.
An exclusive Snap poll suggests a decisive verdict. 64% said that Keir Starmer won, just 36% said Rishi Sunak, not the result the Prime Minister needed.
Halfway through this campaign, tonight a major moment. Both sides will try to claim their man won, but the reactions in the room and from the viewing public tell a different story. Can Rishi Sunak turn it around from here? Sam Coates, Sky News, Grimsby.